Shalom, this is Rob Vanhoff with Heart of Messiah and Torah Resource. This week for Ancient Manuscripts, we're looking at Parashat Shelach Lekha. That's the sending of the spies, which is Numbers 13 through 15. The manuscript you're seeing here on the screen is from our good old friend, the Washington Pentateuch, which is about 1,000 years old. And the specific place we're going to look at here is 13 verse 20 and 21, and it's this little bit here. Hopefully it's clear on your screen. V'hit chazaktem ulekachtem, that is, and strengthen yourselves, from chazak in the hit pile, v'hit chazaktem ulekachtem, and take mipri haaretz, from the fruit of the land. This is Moses, of course, telling the spies what to do. Be of good courage, be strong, and take from mipri haaretz, from the fruit of the land. And then this next line, which is verse 20, we're going to look at a line of that. It says, Vaya'alu vayaturu et haaretz, and they went up and they spied out the land. Okay, so this is Numbers 13, a little bit from verse 20 and a little bit from verse 21 that we're going to see. So again, in the Hebrew or Masoretic text, v'hit chazaktem, we have a mem sofit, ulekachtem, mem sofit, and we'll see a difference in the Dead Sea Scroll fragment we're going to look at. Strengthen yourselves, or encourage, be encouraged, and take. And then beginning of verse 21, Vaya'alu, which is, and they went up. Vayaturu is, and they spied. Okay, so now I'm going to transition here to our actual fragment. And what we're going to notice in our fragment is a nice image here where we have, look at this justification, this right justification, so that the text clearly starts here and goes to the left. But notice the justification on the other column. So somewhere back over here, we had a nice straight justified margin, and obviously the left-hand margin was not kept as nice. But what we see here, this is from Numbers 12. And for example, we can see here, for example, the tetragrammaton right here. It's Yod, He, Vav, He. But in this style of Hebrew, notice the Yod and the Vav are very close. That's a Yod and that's a Vav. So they look an awful lot alike. And notice the He's also are not like our standard He today, but rather they have some sort of like that, or some kind of two-stroke approach where we have a touching that we normally wouldn't have. Something like that. And it can be confused with a chet. But anyway, we're not here to look at Numbers chapter 12, which is on that right-hand column, but we're looking here, which in this way, which is Numbers 13. And the particular passage I want to look at here is, we're just going to look at these two lines. There's so much to study, of course, on one of these manuscripts, but we're going to just zoom in right here. And this is a bit from verse 20, and this is a bit from verse 21. Again, this is Numbers 13. And as we just saw with the Masoretic manuscript behind us, we saw these words here. And I wonder, I could probably arrange it so we could see both together. Yeah, right here. So basically what you see is Vav, Hey, Tav, Chet. Notice the difference between a Chet and a Hey. Zayin, Kuf, Tav, Mem Sofit, and then a Vav, which is our U and, Lamed, Kuf, Chet, Tav, Mem. Well, notice now we're going to go and we'll look in closely here at our Dead Sea Scrolls manuscript, which is from K4. This is 4Q27. So it's from K4, manuscript number 27 from Qumran. Notice if I transcribe this, we have oops. We have Yod, Hey, Tav, Chet, Zayin, Kuf, Tav. I need to make a Tav like our square script here. Tav, Mem, but not a Mem Sofit, and then a Hey at the end. Whereas our Masoretic tradition finishes this word with a Mem Sofit. Here we have a Mem and then a Hey. And then we continue on. Vav, Lamed, Kuf, Chet. I don't like my Kuf. I don't like that either. Tav, Mem, and then the final Hey. So this is the only place in Scripture where we have these two words working together. But whereas the Masoretic, we have Vahit Chazak. Vahit Chazak is the word to be strengthened. Vahit Chazaktem. This is Vahit Chazaktema. We have this sound at the end. Ulachaktema. So these represent, these final Heys here represent a different vocalization tradition. It still means the same thing. Strengthen yourselves, or be encouraged, be strong, and take. Now, of course, our Masoretic text, Mipri Haaretz, continues here. We don't see what that would look like, but it would be something like this: Mipri Haaretz, right? Continuing on from the fruit of the land. And then verse 20, though, let's look at this. Here, I'm going to write below. Now it looks like two yods, doesn't it? But it's really Vayeh. It's Vav, Yod, Lamed, Kaf, Vav, Vayelchu, and then another looks like two Vavs, right? But really, it's Va, like that. Vayavohu. And then another looks like two Vavs, but guess what? It's Vai. Vayaturu. And then Et. Well, this is from verse 21, which is if I go back here and I bring that up, and then I'm just going to bring this back here. Notice the Hebrew for verse 21 only has Vaya'alu, Vayaturu, and they went up and they spied Et, right? Et Haaretz, they spied out the land. Well, this manuscript, instead of where the MT has Vaya'alu, like this, I can put little vowels on here, which means and they went up, Vaya'alu. This manuscript has two different verbs. It has and they went, and they went, and they entered, Vayavo'u, and they entered that is the land. Vayaturu, then it matches the Masoretic, and they spied out. And then et haaretz, right? The haaretz is missing here. And they went and spied out the land. So, I guess I erased it. The Masoretic text has vaya'alu. Whereas this Qumran manuscript does not have the verb to go up. It doesn't say, and they went up. It says, and they went from halach. They went and they entered and they spied. And even on the verb vayaturu, the Masoretic text spells it what we would say defectively, without this vav here, vayaturu. So this vav here is extra, probably for vocalization purposes, but it still sounds the same, because the Masoretic tradition is going to say vayatu, and they're going to put the u vowel like that, vayaturu. So it still means the same thing. And they spied out. So this is a little bit of an expansion. Now, one possibility is that at the end of this line, if we were to continue this line, maybe at the very last word of this line, there was a, oops, computer freaking out here. Maybe at the end of this line, there was a vaya'alu. And so it actually said, and they went up, and they went, and they entered. But I don't think that's the case. I think what we have here is just a different telling of the spy narrative that is very close to the Torah, to the Masoretic tradition, but doesn't follow it word for word. And particularly, we know not only do we see the expansion of these two words here, vayelchu vayavo'u, and they went and they entered, rather than they ascended, and like we see in the Masoretic text, but we see additional letters, and I can do those in a different color, in orange maybe. This letter here is additional. And these letters, these are all additional letters, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll erase that, and I'll say these are additional. So everything you see here in the orange is additional information than what we find in the Masoretic text. And I didn't look at the entire manuscript. I think the style of the writer is very clear. You know, we have Eshkol right down here at the bottom. So nice. You can see Aleph, his shins are really nice. Kaf, Vav, Lamed. Eshkol, here's another Eshkol right here for the word for a cluster of grapes. But what I don't like so much is, zooming back out, is how this scribe kept such a nice right justification there, but when it comes to the left side, he kind of was jogging all over the place, which it communicates to me a lower level of scribal skill. But again, we don't know what kind of time constraints was this scribe on. We don't know, was this a practice kind of document? Was this an entire Torah scroll? Was this just a fragment of Deuteronomy specifically? Was this manuscript originally used liturgically? Again, we don't know. One thing we do know, though, here is we do have, like we pointed out, we have the Tetragrammaton, Yod He Vav He, and it's clearly not, it's not in our Paleo, where we've seen this before, Yod He Vav He like this, where in the square script everywhere else you have the Paleo style script for the Tetragrammaton, not the case. And of course, we can look at all these details, but I'm just going to pick up these ones today that we looked at. We just lack as much, all the information that we would like to know how this text was used in the first century. But it's definitely was part of the Qumran library, and sadly we don't have the entire manuscript preserved for us. Anyway, I hope that's a fun little investigation here, comparing our medieval Masoretic tradition found in the Washington Pentateuch, which is in the background, in contrast with what we see here from 4Q27, which is from the book of Numbers 13, 20, and 21. This is Rob Vanna for Ancient Manuscripts for this week's Torah portion, Shelach Lekha. I hope everybody has a good, nice Shabbat Shalom. Bye-bye.